Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Hari Om.
Though we have come up to which chapter? 17. Kashi. (18). 18th chapter, Kashi. Before that, we'll make it. Again, we will go through from the first, not chapter by chapter, about the purpose of going through this with an in-depth perspective. Life is a combination pleasure and pain. However, everyone ultimately wants peace of mind. With this in view, as already announced, the focus of beloved Papa's Sannyas Centenary year will be on an in-depth study of Inquest of God with a different approach. How to accept every situation in life as ordained by God. How to accept every situation in life as ordained by God. Spontaneity of life, born of an egoless purity and innocence, a consciousness of the indwelling and all-pervading God, and a constant effort to see Him in all, united with an unconditional, cheerful acceptance of all situations as ordained by the Lord, is the one supreme note and refrain of the voice that rings through the whole text. So the purpose of going through Inquest of God is, we are trying to find out, with all the limitations we have, how to accept every situation in life as ordained by God. This is the toughest challenge placed before us. In Papa's case, he thoroughly got established in it. In the first chapter, you will find, for nearly a year, Ramdas struggled on in a world full of chaos, anxieties, and pains. It was a period of terrible stress and restlessness, all of his own making. In this utterly helpless condition, full of misery, where is relief, where is rest? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. Like all of us. And the last few lines of the 37th chapter reveal the transformation of the same individual to a peaceful state when life has been totally surrendered to God. Ramdas stays by Ram's command in a cave called Panchapandava Cave on the Kadri Hills and lives there a serene life, devoting his whole time in talking about, writing of, and meditating on that all-loving, glorious Ram. So it started with like any other ordinary person who is full of cares, anxieties and pains, stressful period. And when we reach the last, we find him the same individual, leading a serene life. Not merely serene life, devoting his whole time in talking about, writing of, and meditating on that all-loving, glorious Ram. So every now and then, if we don't get reminded, we will be working on the chapter. That is not our intention. Our intention is to somehow lift us up from a level where we should be able to accept all situations as ordained by Him. So this should be very, very clear to all of us. Because we have not done the preparatory work on a full-time basis, it is very, very difficult for us to accept all situations as ordained by Him. But suppose we keep it as an ideal. This is what I want to achieve. No? We need not say so many big, big words, God-realisation, this and that. All of us are subject to various situations, trying situations, stressful situations. But at that time, if in a corner of our mind, if this is there, what is there? That everything is happening only by His will, at that particular moment, we should be able to draw the needed courage, the needed strength from that corner and then deal with men and matters. When Papa mentioned the title of the book as In Quest of God, and when we go through these two narration, beginning and the end, we find God is named as Ram. God is also named as peace. We all want peace of mind. Anything that disturbs the peace, we should be able to tackle it. So we should be reminding ourselves that the purpose of going through In Quest of God is to somehow focus on this salient aspect. How am I to accept all situations as ordained by Him? In every chapter we have so far covered, we find different types of situations God brings about. And how Papa deals with every situation calmly, without getting upset, and trying to bring out this in his own words, that it is will of Ram that it should go. Everywhere, even the Kashi chapter also, you will find the same thing. Every chapter, if we go through, we will find some word by Papa that it is the will of Ram that it should happen like this. There is a saying that when we keep on bringing the good aspects of a person in front of everybody, gunaropanam, even if there is not 100% conviction, that person will definitely think, so and so has declared that I have this guna in front of so many people. So how will I dilute it? I cannot dilute it. Similarly, when we keep on reading Papa's chapter by chapter, and when we hear that everything happens only by his will, he is able to accept everything as ordained by God, there will arise a tendency, an inclination to bring this dimension. Because the same word is being repeated and nobody gets nobody gets bored, I have already heard this, why should I hear? No. Please think about it. Suppose our research should be how many times he says that it is the will of God. He has thoroughly established himself in it. And why again he repeats? He repeats it for our purpose, for the readers. Because somebody felt that if he has already reached, and when we are nowhere near him, what is the purpose of going through this exercise? Not like that. At 10 days back or 15 days back, we happened to see a movie, Tukaram. That was taken in 1936. 1936, mind you. When Tukaram was, subjected to go through severe tests, he never compromised on this. He was fully aware that I dissolved Vithoba's will. So many tests. And finally, the Lord himself sends the Vimanam to take him to Vaikuntham. So why do we see this? A hope, there is a hope for all of us. If we do like this, we will also reach. We may not be able to live up to the extent Tukaram lived, or Nyandev. Next, after 2 days, we also saw the picture, Nyandev. That was taken in 1937. How his father was, the family was boycotted by the society, and how the mother and father, they quit the scene and leaving these 2 children, 4 children, and how gradually, but before leaving, father said, you should write. The eldest Jnaneshwar was asking, when everything is so clear in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, why are these people behaving like this? Then his father said, you write a bhashyam on Bhagavad Gita. And after that, again because of the torture, they dropped the body, and then these children went from place to place, part of history. And finally, when God started revealing through Nyandev, and in his 15th year, he wrote this Jnaneshwari, and then chose to drop his body through Jiva Samadhi. Why do we see? Why do we hear? Why do we try to understand? We have not reached that stage, then why should we do it? It gives us a hope. If at least 5% or 10% of how Tukaram lived or Jnanadev lived, I will also get the 10% benefit, no? Similarly, that is why we are going through in quest of God. He was able to accept all situations as ordained by God after severe, intense tapas, no doubt. Tapas means not going to the forest and living. Tapas means here self-denial, self-withdrawal of most of the things, and then intensely concentrating upon that power who is making everybody active, who is behind every thought, who is behind every word, who is behind every action. Through Namajapa and meditation, and for 22 hours. By reading umpteen number of times, slowly we will start thinking about Ram. Who is Ram? What is Ram's nature? How am I to know the indwelling and all-pervading reality as Ram? Suppose we keep on contemplating upon it, something of it will come out. So that is why we are taking up this chapter by chapter again and again. Let nobody develop any sort of doubt about it. It is true that Papa has been able to successfully accept every happening as ordained by God because he already got stabilized in it. You and I are trying, you are trying. And for trying, we need sufficient incentives. And by going through the various situations and the various method by which he was able to accept it, and the consequent change or transformation on others, all these things, when we go through it again and again and again, a samskara develops in our mind about which we may not know at all. And that samskara will definitely help us to slowly accept the truth that everything happens only by his will. To reach the above state, what is required is constant remembrance, which he could do through chanting the holy and all-powerful name, and simultaneously meditating on the all-pervading, eternal, ever-blissful, indwelling God. Constant remembrance of God is the thread through which the entire 37 chapters are woven. Similarly, beloved Papa, in an untold manner, conveys that if our life also can be united with God remembrance while reacting to every events and individuals, we will also be at the end rewarded with peace, serenity and fullness. Papa defines Ram as the mysterious power. The same word has been used by Gandhiji. There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. Gandhiji says, I do dimly perceive that while everything around us is ever changing and ever dying, there is underlying all that change a living power that is changeless, that holds all together, that creates, dissolves, and recreates. This informing power of spirit is God. The truth is that God is the force. He is the essence of life. He is pure, undefiled consciousness. He is eternal. And yet, strangely enough, all are not able to derive, either benefit from or shelter in the all-pervading living presence. Electricity is a powerful force. Not all can benefit from it. It can only be produced by following certain laws. It is a lifeless force. Man can utilize it if he can labor hard enough to acquire the knowledge of its laws. The living force, which we call God, can similarly be followed if we know and follow His law, leading to the discovery of Him in us. Some more clues, That is why, the Papa here says, I live in all. All forms are mine. I rest in rocks, hills, plains. I grow in plants, verdure, trees. I creep in worms, germs, and ants. I fly in the birds and fowls in the air. I roam in the beasts of the wild. I act and move in man, woman, and child. I shine in the sun, moon, and stars. I rise and fall in the waves of the sea. I run and dance in the flow of stream. I roar and crash in the thunders of the sky. I flash in the lightning blaze in the fire. I fill the air, dwell in silent space. I glow in the twilight, sleep in the darkness in the night. I am the life that animates all things. I am the truth that abides all things. I am the Supreme One, and there is none but I. This is something, Gandhiji wanted. How to know that? The living force which we call God can similarly be followed if we know and follow His law, leading to the discovery of Him in us. Vinobaji says, the 10th chapter suggests the same methods that are employed in teaching the children to enable us to see the Lord everywhere. The children are taught the alphabet in two ways. One method is to teach the letters first by writing them in big size. When the children are conversant with them, they are acquainted with letters in smaller size. The other method is to teach simple letters first and the complicated joined letters later on. In the same way, we should first learn to see God in bigger and more conspicuous things. The Lord manifests in the ocean or high mountains can be grasped at once. When we come to experience His presence therein, we shall realize subsequently that He is present even in a drop of water or a speck of dust. There is no difference between the capital A and the small a. This is one way. The other way is to see Him first in His simpler manifestation and then move on to His complicated manifestation. One can quickly comprehend His manifestation in a pure form. For example, one can easily discern God in Rama. Rama is like a simple letter. But what about Ravana? Ravana is like a joined letter. In Ravana, his manifestation is difficult to discern because there is a mixture of good and evil in the person of Ravana. Ravana's penance and energy are indeed great, but they are mixed with cruelty. So to begin with, learn to behold God and manifest in Rama, who is full of love and compassion. It will take time to discern divinity in Ravana, but one has to reach that stage. One should first learn to discern God in good person, But ultimately one should be able to discern him in the evil person too. The Lord who is in an ocean is present in a drop of water too. The Lord who is Rama is present in Ravana too. What is present in the grass is present in the subtle. What is present in the simple is present in the complex. Our vision should be informed with this outlook. The vast creation is like the Lord's book. This is beautifully presented. The vast creation is like the Lord's book. When our eyes are covered with thick veils, we think that the book is closed. Everywhere in the book, the name of the Lord is written in beautiful letters. But we fail to read that. A major obstacle is that a man does not recognize the Lord in the ordinary and simple forms which are near him, and his distant, dazzling manifestations are too difficult to grasp. If you tell him to see God in the mother, he will say, "Is God so simple?" But if the Lord appears before you within his dazzling splendor, will you be able to stand the sight? Kunti wished to see the sun god face to face, but when he approached her, she could not stand the scorching heat. We cannot bear the Lord with all his power and glory, but we do not accept him in milder and gentle forms. We cannot digest sweets made from milk and do not relish ordinary milk. These are the symptoms of our wretchedness and doom. Such a sick mind is a great obstacle that prevents us from seeing him. We must discard this state of mind. So we are reading all these things only to remind us that the purpose of going through in quest of God is to ultimately accept the truth intellectually first, that whatever is happening only by his will. Then we start moving towards it. And then every chapter gives a push, not through tall talks, but through episodes. So that is what we saw till yesterday. Now with that background, we will go through Kashi, 18th chapter. Anybody would like to ask or share some thoughts? Anybody would like to share some thoughts? All are in Samadhi.
Swamiji,
actually somebody is not in Samadhi.
The Chinmaya Dindima has come today. In that the Chinmaya Dindima.
Chinmaya Dindima. Dindima is
Chinmaya Dindima. At every breath a teaching. At every breath a teaching. A taste of bliss. At an early morning meditation class in Kuala Lumpur, I was reflecting on how the ultimate reality, which is one homogeneous whole, WHOLE, could have different attributes such as bliss, within quotation, and consciousness. It can be both. This thought stayed in my mind the whole day. At 4:30 p.m., a lady came to my Amit Gurudev and asked him a question about vasanas and how and when this world was created. While answering her question, Gurudev raised our minds from the how and when of creation to great heights of contemplation. He turned around and looked deeply into my eyes for a couple of seconds and then said to the lady, and on to him only, HIM, capital H both. In meditation, the bliss, within quotations, that you experience is not you. It is this, capital H. He lets you taste it. The consciousness that you experience is not you. Both bliss and consciousness are his, capital H. He lets you have a taste. Don't think that is all or that you have reached the goal. Know that they are his, capital, and wait for him, capital H. From here, it is not for you to experience him. When he wants all capital H, he will come and lift you up. Wait there for him. Don't leave him. Keep him always with you. All capital H. This is the Samam Bonam, Chinnaji has written. A great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Hariom.
Anything else? Once more we will make it clear. Papa started on this tour after getting fully established in the truth that whatever happens is happening only by the will of God. So a doubt may arise in our minds of all that because we are nowhere near in it, in what way this exercise will help us. So Papa answers this, that when we keep on observing things, who are in a position to accept everything as the will of God, ultimately he or she will also get stabilized in it. So when we keep on reading from page to page, chapter by chapter, and everywhere finally Papa fits these words, it is ultimately the will of Ram that prevails. So first reading, second reading, third reading, fourth reading, like that when we go, somehow in our mind a samskara develops. And that samskara will slowly percolate in our thoughts, words and deeds. So we feel this should be the attitude while going through chapters. So that one day we may also realize that whatever is happening only by His will. Now we accept it because it was told by Papa, and it might be at the intellectual level. But at the experiential level, probably we are not near. So that we are trying by going through the chapters, by reading His words, it is all Ram's will, Ram's will, Ram's will. So with that background we go through. We will take up this Kashi. The city of Kashi is a city of magnificent temples, the domes and turrets of which, when viewed from a height, lend a charm to the scene on the banks of the holy river Ganges. The whole of India rightly recognizes that Kashi is one of the most important shrines in Hindustan. Every day pilgrims by thousands are pouring into the place from all parts of India. As Ram took Ramdas on this pilgrimage, see here now. So far, of course, now this word, as Ram took Ramdas on this pilgrimage in winter, the cold was very great here, and the Sadhuram and he had not sufficient clothing, and sleeping as they were in an open place on the bank of the river. The cold was felt acutely, especially by the Sadhuram. The Sadhuram was getting impatient every day. His main object of traveling in the north seemed to have been fulfilled after visiting Kashi. Now he wanted to return to South India. Ram's will. In the same page, Ram's will. Nothing happens in this world but subject to his divine will. Ram's ways are inscrutable. This is the line, we are trying to understand. Both of them are exposed to extreme winter with the clothes they were wearing, probably, nothing else. Extreme winter. And there also, he visited. He is not elaborating about where he visited. Importance of Kashi is there, and then the individual going there. Now he wanted to return to South India. Sadhuram. Ram's will. Next day, the train carried the Sadhuram and Ramdas to Ayodhya, the place where Sri Ramachandra lived and reigned. It was night when the pilgrims reached the place. They rested for the night in the open passenger shed outside the station. The cold was intense. The Sadhuram suggested that both should lie down back to back, the backs touching each other. This device was adopted in order to exchange one another's heat of the body for mutual warmth. Really an original idea. Thus passed the night. Early next day, both proceeded to the city and then to the Sarayu river. Washing the hands and feet, Sadhuram said that no bath need be taken as the cold was very great. So returning from the holy river, they visited various mandirs of Sri Ramachandra Murti and Hanumanji, secured food at a kshetra, and that very night caught in a train going towards Bombay. Now the Sadhuram had once and for all decided to close the northern India pilgrimage and hence the journey towards Bombay. Now you see, Papa says, O Ram, thy will is supreme. Although Ramdas has yet to visit most shrines of North India, it is beyond the humble slave to know the reason for thy taking him to Bombay. Every move thou givest to the situation of thy das is considered by him to be for the best. A technique he gives, how to accept. Every move thou givest to the situation of thy das is considered by him to be for the best. The train travelled, taking the sadhu south and south. Station after station was passed. At a small station, while the Sadhuram was dozing, some passenger who had not perhaps any part with him took away, while alighting, the brass part of the Sadhuram, who woke up and discovered his loss after the train had left that station. He began to fret over the loss of a great deal. In fact, he wept bitterly over it like a child. The next station was Jhansi, which was duly reached. Here the ticket inspection was very strict. So the ticket clerk pulled down these sadhus as well as many others from other carriages and led them all near the gate leading out to the station. There were in all about 10 sadhus. The ticket collector made all of them stand on a line on one side of the entrance or exit. It was both. The passengers were now going out to the station, and the clerk was collecting tickets at the gate, his back turned against the sadhu, who were made to stand only at arm's length from the clerk. The first in the line of the sadhu was a young sannyasi with a jata or tuft of matted hair. Whenever the ticket clerk had a momentary respite from the collection of tickets, he would turn around and, clutching the jata of the young sadhu who was nearest to him, shake his head violently. The next moment he had to attend the ticket collection. When the stream of passengers thinned and there was some break, he would again handle the head of the sadhu and give it a shake and inflict blows upon it with his fist. While this was going on, by a look at the face of the sadhu who was next to him in the line, Ramdas made out that there was a happy smile on the face of the young sadhu. Technically, the chapter ends here, but actually the theme is still there. The sadhu seemed to enjoy the treatment. He was calm and contented. Ramdas was wishing also to taste the pleasure, requested the sadhu to exchange places with him, and thus offer him also the unique opportunity of receiving the attention of the ticket clerk. But the sadhu would not be persuaded to abandon his enviable position. Off and on, the clerk was meting out this treatment to the willing sadhu. This continued for nearly half an hour. Ticket collection was at last stopped. Now the clerk was totally free from work, and he turned right toward the sadhu. He approached the other sadhus, of whom Ramdas was the second, with the object of handling them roughly one by one. Ramdas felt much relieved to see that his turn had at last come. The clerk, coming up, caught his hand in a firm grasp and looked on his face, in which he discovered a most welcome smile, bright, beaming. At once he let go his hand, and drawing himself back a few steps, seemed to have given himself to some thinking. It was Ram who was at work. For next instant, he asked all the sadhus to go out of the station. Accordingly, all the sadhus left the station one by one. O Ram, when thy invincible arm protects thy slave, where was fear for him? One thing was proved incontestably and beyond any doubt, and that it was, thou disarmest the evil intentions of the adversary when he approaches you in a violent mode by meeting him with a smile instead of with fear or hatred. Love can surely conquer hate. Love is a sovereign antidote for all the ills of the world. After all, the whole occurrence might be only Ram testing the sadhus to see if they would lose their self-control under provocation. All that Ram does is for the best. So, because the next chapter, love conquers hate, this is the first para. Because that is for the sake of continuity, we read it out. So in the Kashi chapter, wherever we find, Papa is inserting these words, that it is the will of Ram, will of Ram, will of Ram.
Love is the sovereign antidote for all the ills of the world.
No.
Emphasis is on that particular line.
Yeah.
I don't see.
And he brings out this incident
Yes.
only to make us know that such things will happen in our life.
Sure.
But at the same time, if we can develop this, just by reading we cannot develop this. Gradually, when we develop something of it, we will see a tremendous transformation on the other side. So by going through these episodes, first thing we get the needed strength, courage, power, faith that things will move like this. Second thing is, there is an attempt on the part of the mind to accept the truth that whatever happens is happening by his will only. Because Kashi, he probably in his mind, he would have been thinking about Himalayas also. But he did not bring out all those things. He went along with the sadhu. Because from Kashi to come to Bombay means coming down. But when Papa had his own, probably he must be having his idea to visit Himalayas, but he did not say anything. There is nowhere we find his asserting or his sticking to some sankalpas or plans. He gladly goes along with the will of Ram expressed through the Sadhu Ram. His individual will is not at all there. That is why he repeats, O Ram, thy will is supreme. Although Ramdas has yet to visit more shrines in North India, it is beyond thy humble slave to know the reason for thy taking him to Bombay. Every move thou givest to the situation of thy das is considered by him to be for the best. So this is the important point in this chapter. Anything else anybody would like to contribute on this 18th chapter?
Amiti,
Hari Om.
when this brow spot was temporary, that shows the attachment to possession.
Yeah, correct. At the same time, innocent, Brass pot, which is the only possession probably for the Sadhu Ram. He is not hiding his innocence. And he is right in his own way, He began to fret over the loss a great deal. In fact, he wept bitterly over it like a child. But even the explanation of how can we accept the situation only by this way. At a small station while the Sadhu Ram was dozing, some passenger who had not perhaps any pot with him took away while alighting the brass pot of the Sadhu Ram. We remember the episode in Gandhiji's life. As you all know, he was having a small pocket watch, which he used to tuck it in his dhoti. One day, it was not there. He was to meet on that day Mountbatten, yes. So when Mountbatten asked him whether we should send his vehicle, he said no, he would come by himself. Gandhiji always is always punctual. So even at 4:45, 5 o'clock was the appointment. 4:45, there was no sound of any vehicle coming. So Mountbatten was looking, probably there could be, he might be coming by something else. But exactly at 4:59, Gandhiji was there alone, of course, with his walking stick. And then Mountbatten received him. But Gandhiji looked with a very gloomy face. So he asked him, what happened? So he said the same word, One brother has taken the pocket watch without informing. We repeat because it touched our heart, Without informing, when you take something, the difficulty is it will be misinterpreted. Here, similarly, when he says he took away while alighting, who had not perhaps any pot with him. He did not inform, And we were told, immediately Mountbatten said, I can send somebody to Connaught Place and get you 100 watches. He said, no, that is not the problem. Only because he has not informed. That would create a lot of disturbance in the minds of others. That is the one which is bothering me. When the person who took the watch heard this through somebody, that this is what Gandhiji said, brother. Immediately he came running towards the place where Gandhiji stayed, and then caught hold of his feet and started literally washing his feet with his tears and placed the pocket watch there. So these are all something, which touches our heart. So here also the way in which Papa mentions, some passenger who had not perhaps any pot with him took away while alighting the brass pot of the Sadhura, who woke up and discovered his loss. Papa was able to understand that he was not having, that is why he took. But Sadhuram, like us, and Sadhuram is justified here. We had only one pot with him, brass pot. And he has not reached the stage where submission to his will alone can give him pots or brass pots or anything. That stage he has not reached, like all of us. So by going through these, we are trying. Now also we get disturbed like Sadhuram, when anything happens to us. We don't have to belittle the Sadhuram. We are on the same platform. Unless and until we start accepting that everything happens only by his will, we will be subjected to behave like this only. Because before this explanation, Papa gives it, O Ram, thy will is supreme. Every move thou givest to the situation of thy das is considered by him to be for the best. And there are some things which happen for which we cannot rationally find any justification. Such things do happen. It is the will of God. How do we know that? Here he explains about the behavior of the ticket collector. It is all right, they have tickets, so they have been asked to get down. But to catch hold of their jata and then to physically manhandle, we cannot understand why God prompted him to do that.
Swamiji,
And,
this ticket collector's behavior of manhandling the sadhu shows that he had a very demeaning attitude towards them just because they did not have a ticket. You could handle them any way you want.
Yeah.
That is something we should also learn, that if somebody has a turned over situation, we should not look down upon them.
Once we start viewing the attitude of the ticket collector and the attitude of the sadhus, these two are worth studying deeply. The sadhu, the ticket collector, thought they should be punished, and this is the way he is meting out the punishment. But at the same time, in the next chapter we found, as soon as the turn came for Papa, for him, and he actually was about to, then he looked at him. So that immediately transformed him. Then though we criticize the attitude, we consider out of his immaturity he would have acted. But the moment the maturity or the goodness is touched and kindled, he also gets transformed. He asks everybody to go. Love conquers hate. And then on the part of sadhurams, they are all innocent people They don't carry money, so they don't carry tickets. So wherever they are asked to get down, they get down. And whenever something of this is meted out on those days, today it will be different. Today immediately everybody will make such a big incident out of it. But on those days, it was not there. So submission. Submission was the attitude of the sadhus. That is why none of them protested or none of them said anything. And on the contrary, Papa was the second one, and Papa wanted to readily place himself in the other seat. He was enjoying, that's what he says. Ramdas made out that there was a happy smile on the face of the young sadhu. So even during such periods of torture, that Jadaswami was able to maintain the same attitude. The sadhu seemed to enjoy the treatment. He was calm and contented. The central message is submission, submission, submission. That we should keep on hammering. That is the purpose for which we have all taken up this in-depth study. Every day we may not remember. At least periodically we should try to check up whether this is slowly creeping in our words, thoughts, words and deeds. But whatever happens is happening only by His will. We may forget, doesn't matter. But when we deal with men and matters, and when there are something that happens which disturbs us, immediately, if in quest of God episodes come before us, there will be a different approach. Various types of episodes, not one same type, no stereotype. Various types. The central theme is this, to accept everything as the will of God. He got stabilized and he wanted all of us to get stabilized. That is why minutely he is recording everything. And we all should know that this has been written after 1 year. After he came back to Kadri Hill, we were told that he was initially writing in small paper, the backside of the covers. And then somebody was kind enough to stitch it together. So that means he was recording everything, and in the chronological order he was doing it. Why he was doing it? That is why we are all here, no? So only for us he has written all these things, not for himself. Because what he wanted to establish, he already got established. Every time he repeats this and at the same time accepts this, it is not an intellectual conviction, it is an experiential conviction. So let us all try to think on those and pray to him from the heart, bottom of the heart, to kindly enable us to accept everything as your will, or make our mind mature enough to accept it. It has not been possible for us to do so all these years, because in us the me and mine is so strong. We are unable to accept everything as God's will. So kindly enable us to do so. Let this prayer be very strong in our mind. This is the central message of IQG, Anything else? Anything else from anybody? All are in deep samadhi.
We have to wait for him. Next, after.
Anybody else?
Swamiji, ultimately it boils down to submission to God's will. Individual will has no place. So, in the end of the chapter, that is the main point that we have to remember.
Yeah. Correct, correct. Submission to his will, submission to his will, submission to his will. Okay, then with that background, we will try to pick out the best. Tomorrow is Sunday, day after tomorrow we will meet again. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.